to illuminate the often unseen mental health challenges faced by first responders, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and 911 dispatchers by sharing their stories, fostering understanding, and promoting resources for support and healing. We aim to break down stigma, advocate for improved mental health services within the first responder community, and inspire hope and resilience. This is the Weight We Carry podcast. What's going on, guys? This is Bart with the Weight We Carry podcast, and today we have Captain Norm Prycl from McCandless Franklin Park Emergency Medical Services Authority. Norm, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Bart?
Dude, excellent, man. I'm so happy to have you on. It's been years since I've seen you, and we used to run into each other all the time on calls. So
yeah, of course.
So what's been going on with you, man?
Nothing, just working. I don't know, just being Norm.
Doing the thing. Doing
Norm
the
things.
Norm, if you could just give everyone a little bit of a background of yourself, and we'll go from there, okay, man?
Sure. So I'm Norm Prycl. I work for McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority. I've worked there for the last 21 years. I've been active in the emergency services since 1996. I was a junior firefighter at the age of 14. I received my EMT in 1996, where I started working at Richland EMS. Started the paramedic program immediately out of high school. Was the youngest paramedic to graduate from CCAC's paramedic program at the time. I don't know if that's changed. It's been a long time. That was 1998. Worked for Richland up till about the time I was 21, until I got my dream job at McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority, which I wanted for years. Living in Franklin Park, being a resident of Franklin Park, that was where I wanted to be. That's where I knew I wanted to be. I worked a couple different jobs, kind of intermittent, until I got hired at McCandless. And then luckily, the candidate that interviewed prior to me couldn't pass the test. So they ended up hiring me, and that's kind of where I landed, and that's just kind of where I've been. A lot of things have gone on with my career, with things going on, from being promoted to like a crew chief to a supervisor. I was an interim chief with an administrator that we had there for about 6 months until we had a new chief who got brought into the organization, and I eventually got promoted to captain. So yeah, it was a long road, not always the easiest road, but we just kind of take it a little hill at a time and just take it as it comes.
Heck yeah, man.
Stayed active through fire. I still am mildly active in fire. I don't run out the door to fire calls anymore. Actually, I'm contemplating on re-joining as an operational member of Harmony Fire District again. I'm in better shape now. I feel like I can do more of the job now that I'm in shape, and I kind of miss it a little bit. So we're going to see where that takes me. I just got to actually fill out the application and pull the trigger, you know what I mean?
Do it. Well, Norm, can you give us a little bit about your upbringing and what led you to a career in public safety?
So I was brought up in, like I said, Franklin Park, Pennsylvania. I grew up with a very supportive family. My dad was a mechanic. My mom worked a couple different jobs, a caterer. She worked for a farm market. Good family support system. I never wanted for naught. My parents pretty much supported everything I wanted to do. And believe it or not, I wanted to be a police officer for a long time. I wanted to be a police officer. That was the only thing I wanted to do. I was going to go to the police academy. I was going to go into law enforcement. Nobody in my family, not aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers, cousins, nobody is in public safety but me. So I really didn't have a public safety mentor to look up to until I go to Beatty Tech, right? I show up at Beatty Tech. My original instructor lasts 6 months, then retires, and then in walks my public safety mentor. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name in here, but it's JT Thomas.
Oh yeah, we know JT well.
Yeah, completely changed my life and what my outlook was on life. So, I'm going through this EMT program, and I get my EMT, and I'm panicking, like I'm 16 years old. How am I going to pass this test? And he goes, "You're going to pass. You've got the knowledge." And I'm like, okay, yeah. So I get on it, and, the second time I take the test, I pass, and now I'm ready to go, jump on the fire truck, jump in the ambulance, want to run calls all the time. Worked a little bit in HVAC while I was volunteering as a EMT and a firefighter before I was able to be hired. And so in my senior year, JT says to me, "I know you want to be a police officer." And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he says, "Well, why don't you just go to the paramedic program first?" And I said, "You got to convince me, because I've wanted to be a police officer for so long. What is the positives to me being in...
You're ruining my dreams."
Staying outside of law enforcement and going into EMS. So He goes, well, if you take a gap year and you get that paramedic, you can make $2 more an hour, and then you can work as a paramedic while you're in college. I'm like, whoa, $2 more an hour. Then, EMTs and paramedics, I was working at Richland EMS for $8 an hour. I'm looking at like $11 an hour now. I'm going to be rich, right? So, I passed the paramedic program. I get on orders. I start working at Richland. Things kind of come to a head. I wasn't a great student at the time. And I just didn't want to go to a educational institution and do that formal education more. I just wanted to work. So I just went head into working in EMS, and that's what I did. And I just got the education along the way.
Heck
So,
yeah.
taking rescue classes, intermittent classes at CCAC, just trying to learn the job, stay trained, stay up to date on everything. So that's pretty much it. And that's, to this day, nobody in my family is in public safety. The
Only you.
closest thing to public safety is my daughter's going to be a nurse in May at West Penn.
Oh, good for her though. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Isn't that's a great feeling? See, like it's not public safety per se, but still it's the medical field, man.
Yeah,
It's
but
still
you
an
can bet she
awesome
was one of the
accomplishment.
better students in cardiology at nursing school.
And then wonder why.
Yeah.
Checking those QRS complexes.
Oh, yeah.
Norm's teaching her. So Norm, what was it like going through that paramedic program at 18 years old, and how did that early exposure shape your career?
So I can tell you that walking into the paramedic program as an 18-year-old teenager is not easy, because you're surrounded by 40, 30, 40, 50-year-old people that are looking at you and they're like, you've been in EMS for 2 or 3 years. What do you know? And you're sitting here thinking, all I want to do is pass this class, man. Like, this is what I want to do now. So for the first couple months, it was hard. But then you kind of get the right people around you, right? So you have those guys that you're at class with, those guys that you study with. They didn't care that I was 18. They all had the same goal. We all wanted to get through paramedic class. And actually, my partner in paramedic class worked with me at Richland. He passed away. He
Oh
had went
man.
through the paramedic program with me. We did our final project together and ended up getting a terminal diagnosis like close to a year after he completed the program, and actually was only a paramedic for a year before he passed away. So that was kind of sad, that
For
kind of hit
sure.
kind of hard. But yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest thing. And that's the problem I think today with EMS is a lot of these people around you that you surround yourself with, you're working a lot, they want to eat their young. And I am definitely not in support of that. I'm at full support. No matter how old you are, if you want to get involved, we need to get involved, because if we don't stick together, this profession's not going to stay alive, right? You're not
Yep.
going to have staffing for ambulances, and people are going to pick up not their call, the phone for 911, and then it is going to come to where they're waiting 35 minutes for an ambulance to get there, because the
Yeah.
people aren't there. And the people that are working 80 hours a week, that only lasts so long.
To burn out real quick.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing that you hit on really was, fostering that new generation of paramedics and EMTs. That's the thing. You can see that across the board in anything public safety. Like you said, the new they get eaten up. You know what I mean? And that's the environment we're trying to dismantle, because, like you said, if we don't have these new providers that are actually good providers, the career is not going to remain afloat. So, throughout your career, Norm, you've experienced many critical incidences. Is there one in particular that stands out or has a lasting impact on you?
I'm going to have to bring this one up. We're not going to mention any names. It happened on July 8th, 2022, 23, 23.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Sheeran, one of my very close friends, went into sudden cardiac arrest. Luckily, we were able to bring him back. That hit really hard. You're walking to working in 100-degree heat, and I'm like 20 feet ahead of him, and the guy walking with him is yelling, he's down, he's down. Here I am looking down the alley of the north side thinking, why are you picking up homeless people? Why'd you see him laying on the ground and you're taking care of this guy? And then I realized they said his name, and I was just like, I lost all color in my face. Like, I was just working with that guy. You know what I mean? I mean, that's probably the most, like, I've been through a lot of critical situations. I've been through, I've seen people burned alive in cars out in Armstrong County, but like, that doesn't hit home. What hits home is that guy I've worked with for 15 plus years, seeing him on calls, having breakfast with him, going to fires with him, laughing after that call, high fiving after you get that ROSC, even though, Ross and McCandless were always, who's better, who's better.
Both
So,
awesome services.
yeah. So, but I can tell you after that happened, I wasn't sure if I was going back to work. Yeah.
It is. It's a tough one. And I know you're not going to mention any names, but everyone can gather who that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time, I think I just started at county. When my wife heard about it, it was just a shock to everyone. Shock to everyone. And I can't imagine that, you being there. You know what I mean?
It was, man, I still get choked up about it.
For
Like,
sure, man.
yeah. I know I didn't go to work for 2 or 3 days, And then
Yeah.
when you walk into work and I walk into roll call, we do roll call at every day at 8 a.m. And, my chief and the guys at work are all high fiving me, hey, good job, good job. And I'm thinking, it doesn't feel like that.
No.
I mean, I know I did a good job. Everybody that was there did what they were supposed to do. It's still not a good feeling.
No.
It took me a week to go visit him at the hospital.
It's a close friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game when it's one of our own, a whole
Right.
different ball game. So you mentioned early on losing a close friend in public safety. Can you share what that experience was like and how that affected you personally?
It wasn't the easiest thing to do because, you work with a guy every day, and you go and you walk into work and either you're relieving him or he's relieving you, or you end up on a call together. And all of a sudden, like down, a couple days into it, he's just not there. And you're just like, this is just weird, walk into work and they're just not there. And, I don't know. It's just, it hits kind of different because like you fully expect those people to be around you for a good amount of time. And then they're not.
Yeah.
There's
no way to like fill that void either. Cause like you said, when you work, on an ambulance or a police officer or firefighter, those people become a second family. If you see them sometimes more than your normal family, you
eat dinner with them, you celebrate holidays with them,
Yeah.
it's just, and then you
it's a
get to know
family member, man.
and then you just get to know their families. Like I knew I was close with his wife,
Yeah. It's hard, man. So, Norm, at what point did you really start noticing the mental and emotional toll of our jobs?
I think with me, it's sort of like, it's like, it was sort of like ups and downs, right? Like early in my career, I was a go-getter, right? Like I wanted to go on every bad call. I wanted to run into every fire. I wanted to pull everybody out. I wanted to do every cardiac arrest. I wanted to cut people out of cars. I wanted to do all these things, right? And then, you get a couple years into it and you walk into your shift and you're like, I don't know if I really want to do that today.
Yep.
Maybe I just want to hold Granny's hand and drive her to the hospital, something. And then like, you get burnt out for a little bit. And then like, you have that call that like triggers something. And then you're like, oh, maybe I don't hate it so much as I thought I did. Right. So, and then you're like on that high again. And then like, you go through and you work for an organization so long and then there's leadership changes and then you're mad. Why are you mad? You could be mad at the guy that caused the leadership changes, or you may feel like you're the guy that caused the problem, or the guys working with you caused the problem. But really, what's the answer? It's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
As staff paramedics, you make that boss's job hard. I'm telling you, it's not an easy job. You get it from all ends, right? So they were getting it from all ends. They didn't want to work anymore. And at one of those points where I was really down was like, we really didn't have anybody to work. And it's me with little kids at home, with my wife working a full-time job, and me only seeing my kids 1 day a week. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to make sure the ambulances stayed on the road. And then when you get home for that 1 day a week, what do you want to do? I don't want to go to a softball game, or I don't want to go hang out with my kids. I want to sleep. All I want to do is sleep. And then, it causes tension at home. I mean, God bless my wife. I've been with her for 23 years. She's put up with me for that long. But, and raised kids. And I can honestly tell you, there was some points in my career where I didn't feel like I was raising them. I just wasn't there. Not just physically there. I just wasn't mentally there.
Sure.
And
that's I think the general public, not all, but a good majority, they don't understand the sacrifices that first responders do give to the job, to the career. And all that it does, it comes with a cost. It comes with the cost, whether mentally, at home life, everything. It comes at a cost. And like you said, thank goodness you have someone strong on the back end, keeping everything together for you at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like she's still a full-time nurse. She still had her job to do too,
Yeah,
And then there's me not wanting to do things or drive them to school or go to a game, or like she needs a break too.
sure.
I mean, I'll mention her, Kristen Prycel, stuck with me 23 years, I
Give her
mean,
a shout
22
out.
years total and dating and getting married and doing the things and having the kids and buying a house and,
Keeping it
putting up
glued
with all
down,
my
man.
hobbies.
Yeah. That's how my wife is too. She keeps us, they keep us glued down and keep us centered, man. It's definitely what my wife does. So, Norm, what are some of the signs and symptoms of PTSD and any mental health struggles that you had? What did you experience?
Do you want to know what the biggest one that I've noticed with this is? My negative interaction with people.
Hmm.
When I hit a low, I don't want to talk to anybody. And if they want to have a conversation with them, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to hear the problems. I don't want to hear complaining, negative reactions to even the most positive reaction. Like, hey, I finished this class. Big deal. I did it like
Yeah.
10 years ago. What's that got to prove to me? Nothing. That's what the whole brings back to the beginning of eating your young. If you're not excited for people getting educated, getting trained, wanting to come to work, wanting to interact with you,
What are you
where do
doing?
they go out the door? Right?
Yep. Yep.
They'll find somewhere else to work, somewhere supportive. And I think, part of that problem is like when I hit like one of those lows and I don't feel like, because it happens. There's days where you know,
We're human,
I just
man.
don't want to do the
We have
thing,
our days.
And you can feel them coming, and it's just like on those days, you just kind of got to swallow your pride and be like, is this how I really should be acting? You know, then that's the time that you go and you say, oh, I'm going to take a couple days off, kind of do a reset, you know? That's like I said, it comes in waves. I have never been officially diagnosed with PTSD, but I know I have it. I mean, the most professional help that I've ever sought was after the incident in July. And then I started getting therapy after that incident for about 8 months. And my wife looked at me and she said, you're a completely different person. I was talking to somebody once a week, and then it didn't turn into like, hey, let's talk about this incident. It turned into like, hey, we talked about this incident. Now, what else is going on in your life?
Hmm.
And then I could talk to this guy, and this therapist, this guy that was treating me, he's a retired police officer. He knows public safety. It's not like I'm talking to, a person with a degree that's never lived that life. He lived that life. He was SWAT. He was a detective.
Hmm.
He, maybe not all the same things that I interacted with or come in contact with on a daily basis, but he knew the job. That's what his job was. And the people that got me in line with it, I don't like, it was a certain hospital system, which I don't want to mention because I don't know if I'm allowed to mention.
Hmm.
And there was certain people involved that saw me slipping, and they got a hold of me right away. Saturday night, when I called one of my closest friends in the world and told him what happened, not only was he there in 20 minutes to make sure I didn't do anything stupid, but he made sure that I got in line with that therapy so I was going to be okay going forward.
Yeah.
Did I have the therapy right away? No, I had to process everything. You know, it's hard to talk about something immediately after it happens, but I can tell you a week later when I was on with that therapist, that's when it really helped. Because now I had time to process everything that went down. And then I had time to process everything that's been going on in my life. So that therapist took like everything that was going on because I didn't realize what was going on. I was in a new position, newly promoted after, like, directly after that happened or before that happened. And I didn't realize the pressure I was feeling. And he made me realize it. At that time, he made me realize it. So that's kind of it.
Now, when you said your wife said you were a different person, was that a positive thing or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like
Okay.
I was,
Okay.
instead of just falling asleep on the couch, I was sitting up talking to her. I was interacting with the kids and I was laughing and I was smiling. I can tell you I
Yeah.
smile a lot more now.
Like, yeah, man.
So, yeah.
Are you still seeing that therapist or have
Uh,
you?
I can call them if I need them. At this point, I haven't needed them for anything. I've had not felt like I
Good.
need to, but I know that there is going to be a point where I'm going to call on them. It's going to happen. I don't plan on leaving this career for a while. It's going to happen.
You're gonna ride until the wheels fall off,
I'm going to
baby.
ride it till it dies, brother.
So obviously you have a really strong support system. How's that played a role in your mental health journey?
It plays a huge role. I look forward to coming home and finding out, I don't always know what's going on in my kids' lives, but when I do find out what's going on in my kids' lives, that's a positive for me. Me and my wife try not to bring work home, but guess what? My wife's a administrator at a hospice, and I'm a captain in EMS service. So what do you think happens? Our phones are
Sure.
ringing off nonstop. Doesn't matter if we're home, if we're at work. It just helps that she's kind of in the same position I am, so we're able to talk about that. And most of the time, we're able to laugh about it. We'll be like, "Can you believe what happened today?" And we'll just start busting out laughing and make jokes about it. Like we can't make this shit up, you know.
Yep. You both have that. Yeah, you have to have that sense of humor, the dark sense of humor, because both coming from that type of medical backgrounds, you know what I mean? It just happens. It's a coping mechanism that we all know too well, you know what I mean?
And what makes it great is just like I know everybody says, "Hey, I'm so proud of my kids," right?
Mhm.
And well, I'm their dad. Why wouldn't I be proud of them? Well, I mean, like, yeah, they're my kids, but like I can say I am so proud of my kids. Like my daughter going directly into nursing school after high school, and then my 15-year-old daughter, I love her, but she's quirky, man, but I'm still proud of her. You know, I'm proud of how she does in school. I'm proud of the activities she participates in school. She works on the weekend as a dishwasher. I'm just hoping that, the way that we acted around my kids growing up is, playing a positive role models is playing a part in their life to make them grow up and be a positive role model to everybody else.
Absolutely. That's all we can wish for our kids, man. Just be good people and spread that positivity throughout the world and make it a better place than, like we do. Before we leave it, we got to make it a better place. Make it a better place when we leave it. So, Norm, what coping mechanisms have helped you the most in managing your stress and trauma?
The outdoors.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
On top of family, the outdoors. Sitting in a tree stand or I run dogs competitively with the AKC. I love to train beagles. That's my thing, man. Like I love beagles. Like my favorite breed of dog. There's nothing better than watching hound work. I'm telling you, man. Like if I could find a way to get paid to do it, I'd retire right now. I mean, just the ability of those dogs, the athleticism, you know, watching them do the work, going to those trials. You train for months and months and months, and then you take those dogs to those trials, and then you get on the bench and you get that blue ribbon after you've done all that work with a young dog. There is no better feeling. Or you take that pup out on their first hunt, right? And, you've trained them all summer. Now they're on their first hunt, and then, you shoot a rabbit off them on their first hunt and they're playing with it and you're playing with them and you're praising them, and it's like, and you're saying, you've trained for this, so,
That's
it's
awesome
like,
though, man.
yeah, hunting outdoors, I do a little bit of fly fishing. I do like the walleye fish. My dad has a camp up in Lake Erie. I like to spend the time on the boat with him. Um, my older daughter used to spend some time with me hunting and fishing, but she kind of grew out of it. But hey, you know what? I let my kids do whatever they want. If she came to me tomorrow and said, "Hey, Dad, let's go out with the dogs," I'd be totally okay with that. But if she never came to me again and said it, I'm okay with that too.
Heck yeah. But that's cool. I always see your posts and everything. It's always with the dogs, or we have Blaze Orange on. You're out and outdoors hunting or whatever. But it's awesome that you have that as a release, and that's what you really truly love doing, man.
I mean, I save all my vacation. Like I went to Punta Cana with my wife for a couple of days, like a month and a half ago. But like
Mhm.
the majority of my PTO is spent either 30 feet in a tree or on the ground training dogs.
Heck yeah, that's good stuff. And you said your dad does that too? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's one thing I was brought up. My dad's always trained dogs and competed with dogs, and I just kind of
Okay.
stuck with it. Now there was like a 10-year gap where I would like train my dad's dogs just because we were a new family. I didn't have the time, I was working. I still did it. I just didn't own my own at the time.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So we had to take that break, and I had to get a point in my career where the kids could be like kind of by themselves, or I would have the time to put into the dogs that I need to put into them. But I've always done it.
Heck yeah.
So.
So many people in public safety struggle with asking for help. We all know that all too well. What advice would you give to someone who's hesitant to reach out?
Best advice is that I can give is pretty simple. Just reach out. When I started this career in 1996, they frowned upon it, right? No,
Yeah.
they didn't care. It was like you show up the station, you suck it up. I've been through it. I've seen more than you've seen. I've seen more than you'll ever see. You know, the whole thing brings back to you eating their young. There it goes again. And, you know, if you had thick enough skin to live through it, you know, you can only look at that as a positive, because I can tell you that's not how I would ever treat another provider as long as I live. Provider, firefighter, I'm telling you, I'm going to be supportive the whole time. You know what I mean? And just reach out for that help. Just ask. There's somebody there that's going to help you. Call
Yep.
me. I'll give you I'll give you my phone number. Call me and talk to me. I'll get you in line with the people that you need to get in line with. We've lost too many, way too many. You know,
It
suicide rates, look at the suicide rates right now. It's crazy.
it is.
It's
It's absolutely,
unbelievable.
it's uncalled for.
Yeah. All because they either didn't want to ask or no one wanted to help them.
So other than, you know, eating their young, like we've discussed, what do you think needs to change in public safety to better support mental health?
I always go back to like there's such a strong push on training, right?
Mm-hmm.
In every aspect of law enforcement. You know, if you do SRT, if you're a firefighter, if you do EMS, you know, you have to get so many Con Ed credits every year to keep your certification. Or, you know, all these fire departments, you know, we want to be the national standard. We want you to be firefighter 1. We want you to be firefighter 2. You know, go do this rescue program so we can be volunteer rescue recognition, you know, or, you know, prepared for pediatrics for EMS, or you want the gold status for AHA for STEMI recognition or stroke recognition. You know, there needs to be something in all that training that they push that supports mental health, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh
You
yeah,
know, monthly check-ins, weekly check-ins, quarterly check-ins, training on mental health, make it mandatory. We can make EMSVO. You have to know how to drive an ambulance, but you have to make EMSVO every 2 years to keep your certification. Why not make it mandatory to do mental health training?
yeah.
If
We're
you
just
want to
trying
be
to
in the
figure
job,
out.
what's that?
So we need to figure out where we need, what we need to, and who we need to talk to, you know, to get that in the curriculum. You
Is
know,
it right? Is it the legislators? Is it the state
that's
medical director? Is it the National Fire Academy? Look how much push the National Fire Academy has involved in EMS training, you know, NIMS. You know, you
yeah.
couldn't tell me that the National Fire Academy, as respected as they are, couldn't put out a mental health program. There's
Yeah.
no reason why they couldn't. The experts are there.
I don't know what the hangup is. Is it that they're stuck in the old ways like we were discussing? I don't know. I foresee, you know, I think the dialogue has been opened up with the higher ups and you know, so it's not as bad as it was in the past, but it still needs improvement.
Yeah, it's vast improvement.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Leaps and bounds. And I think part of the problem is it's really easy as a professional in public safety to go out and get your own help.
Yeah.
But I think part of the problem is some organizations, no matter what organization, if it's the Los Angeles Fire Department or if it's, you know, British Columbia Fire Department or British Columbia EMS, they're focusing on the mental health of that one person because now that person came to them with a problem, right? But what about the people that are surrounding them? How
Yeah.
does the one person have a problem? How is that affecting everybody around them? You can tell when you walk into the roll call in a shift if it's going to be a bad day, right?
For sure.
Because the
For
chief
sure.
walks in pissed off, or, you know, it starts out and they've already been running 5 calls, and that mitigates to everybody, right? And somebody having a negative attitude, and I hate to use this term, but it's a cancer. If they're having that problem and nobody's addressing it, it's going to move its way out,
It
and
spreads
it's
all the
going to
way
affect
out.
the people around you. I mean, look how closely you work at your job with people, right?
Sure.
Sitting at a desk right next to somebody. You can't tell me that if you're in a bad mood, that's not going to go over to the guy sitting next to you,
Yeah.
you know?
That always affected even, you know, if a partner on the ambulance, you're there for 24 hours, at least with when I worked, and your partner's mood affects you. Absolutely. It rubs off. And it's a, I get it. You know, we were there for 24 hours and you have your ups and downs, as we all know. But I think that definitely dictated my shifts. You know, it, I don't know if it's because I'm very, sensitive to that. I'm sensitive. I can walk in a room and feel it. You know, I can read a room and I can feel a room. You know what I mean? So it definitely it travels downhill. You know, it starts at the top and it travels downhill for sure.
Yeah, so it's like if I walk in a roll call and I'm negative right off the bat, it's
Oh
going to
yeah.
affect the whole day.
Yep. Sets
You have to
the
start
mood.
everything on a positive note, no matter what's going on.
So Are there any resources, Norm, that you could refer people to? Any resources, programs, support networks that you would recommend to others dealing
The
with
Chill Project
stress?
with the Chill Project with HN. Absolutely the best. They're the ones that got me online.
Okay.
Yep. That's who
First
I
time I've
went
heard of
after to
it.
get
Can you
that. What's
explain it
that?
to me at all?
I'm sorry.
That's the first time I've heard of the Chill Project. Can you
So
elaborate on it?
I don't know if I can mention any names. So
Sure.
so it is through Allegheny Health Network. I remembered I wasn't going to say it before, but cat's out of the bag or whatever. Basically, the Chill Project is something that the Allegheny Health Network's doing now that an individual can just reach out. If they think they're having a problem, you reach out to the Chill Project and they'll get you in with the resources that you need to get in with. I know there's a couple organizations locally in the North Hills that are using the Chill Project. I
Okay.
don't want to mention them specifically. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if they want to be advertised as doing it just because of the gravity of the situation and what we're talking about currently.
Hmm.
But the Chill Project through Allegheny Health Network will get you in line with what you need to get. And they'll help anybody. It doesn't matter if you work for UPMC or you're a volunteer fireman or, you're North Hills SRT or you're, Richland EMS. I'm just, pulling people, just random organizations. If you need
Sure.
help and you reach out to the Chill Project, they'll find a way to get it for you.
Fantastic. See, that's a step in the right direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Norm, looking back, what would you tell your younger? I love this question. I love this question. Looking back, what would you tell your younger self about the mental challenges of this career? Be easy on yourself.
The best thing I could tell my younger self is instead of trying to take everything on at once, take it off one bite at a time. It's a lot easier to manage. If you try to climb a bunch of little hills, it's a lot easier than climbing the big one, right?
Sure.
So if you tackle those little hills a couple at a time or one day at a time, then the mental stress and what you go through on your daily and the career gets a lot easier. If you try to grab that hill and you try to climb that hill straight up, it's never going to work out for you. You're going to get tired in the middle and you're going to sit down.
Yeah. Baby steps.
Yeah.
That's it. Baby steps. Got to crawl before you walk, I guess. But
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's how all of us were, getting into the career. You're I remember it. You're gung ho, we're going to save all these lives, and then 5 years in you're like, "Man, I feel like I've been doing this for 20
You're
years." And
saving
then
all
you
these
get into
lives, then
20
you're
years.
5:30 in the morning, you're sitting in the back of the dialysis patient, and you're like,
Uh,
man, that's a good break. I'd
it
have to
is.
carry that person out of a third-story apartment complex.
We discussed this with one of our other guests, and she said, and it's referring to what you said, all those high aptitude calls, like the very critical calls, if we ran those back to back to back to back to back to back, it's not sustainable. So those little hold the hand, real easy calls, that's what I think keeps providers on the street. And that can negate the burnout
I mean,
because we all love those calls. We love the critical calls because
yeah.
we're doing work. We're really putting our education to work. But like you said, when you fall back on like the BLS skills or things like that, it's huge. It's
I mean,
huge.
don't get me wrong, I'm still an adrenaline junkie. I don't
Sure.
just work at McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority. I work on the AHN response unit, okay?
Heck
And if
yeah.
there's something hot working, you can bet I'm going to head that way, even if they don't call me. You'd be surprised where Norm can show up in the North Hills.
Norm showing up. We love it, man. I
I mean,
love
like
it.
2 weeks ago, I come in on a shift change at 7:49 in the morning. You won't forget this call. Crews are switching. People are talking. We get a call for an imminent delivery. All the crews go, right?
Oh
We're
yeah.
there. There I am on my hands and knees in somebody's bathroom in my starch white shirt, delivering a baby. You know, those are the highs, man. Baby came out healthy, no problems. I hand the
Heck
baby
yeah.
off. Everybody's celebrating. That's one of those
Yeah.
good days. Those are one of those calls that you're like, man, that was a good day. You know,
Talk about setting the tone for the day. There you go.
there you go. Everybody was on a high. I mean, I even stopped and got everybody donuts, like we had a big, it was like almost like a big party. And the best part was the baby's born, right? And
Hmm.
the one of the paramedics, she was a newer paramedic. It was her birthday. So she got to help deliver a baby on her birthday. I mean,
Heck yeah.
what better emotional high than you have than that, right?
bringing life into the world, man. It's amazing.
We
It's
tried
an
to get the
amazing
family
thing.
to name the baby after the provider, but we're not sure if that happened. And not
Norm.
Norm. And not Norm.
So, Norm, here we go. I got the last one for you. Ready for it?
I'm always ready for it, man.
I know you are. So, what message do you want to leave for our listeners, whether they're in public safety or not, or just trying to understand the weight that first responders carry? Like that, the weight that first responders carry. Like I put that in there.
What so message you want me to leave in regard to the weight that
So, what message do you want to leave for our listeners,
Okay.
whether they're in public safety or just trying to understand the weight that first responders carry?
My message is to check on everybody. You get done at the hospital and you see a crew, even if you don't know the organization or the providers, and they look like they just went through something bad. It's not going to hurt you to go over and pat that person on the back and say, "Are you okay?" Provide the support at base first, and then they can go find it where they need it.
Yep.
Check on everybody. Because there is the one day you don't check on somebody is the day you read about them in the newspaper.
I love it, Norm.
Yeah.
It's been real talking to you, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. I enjoy it, but you have to tell Brittany that I'm a little upset she didn't join in.
I know. It's funny. We need to, just with my son's baseball, we're shuffling schedules around for his baseball schedule and then recording guests. So now it's going to be Mondays or Tuesdays. We're kind of going to be scaling back on the days just because baseball season. My son's baseball takes precedence, man.
When I was coaching fast pitch, Brittany was my call, man. Like,
I know.
Brittany be like, "What's your thought on playing her in this position?" And Brittany's like, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Bring her over for conditioning." I'm like, "All right, let's do this." I coached fast pitch for had to have been 8 years.
Yeah.
Brittany was like my go-to phone call because I knew she was a ball player, and I played baseball, but I never played fast pitch softball. It was a whole learning curve,
Heck yeah, that ball comes in fast.
Oh yeah.
Fast.
Yeah,
Norm, anything else you want to give everyone, man?
I think hopefully it makes my work made it worth a listen, and I was glad that I could participate in this podcast. I mean, I've listened to every episode that I could, and it's all been good information, and I think you're bringing a good message.
We appreciate it, man. It wouldn't be anything without people like you coming on, though, man. Seriously. And that's the great thing, with working at Ross for such a long time and meeting all these awesome providers from the surrounding agencies. We have a wealth of people that are willing to come on.
I remember the first time I met you.
Now, explain. I need to be, because I'm not going to remember probably.
Ohio Township.
My memory's horrible.
Ohio Township Vehicle Rescue.
Okay.
We took a vehicle rescue class. I took it as a refresher, but you might have been taking it as a certification.
Okay.
But I remember it was hot as shit that day. Everybody was getting ready to pass out.
Yep. I'm surprised I didn't. Dude, all the classes though, man. Yeah. Whether it be vehicle rescue, rope rescue, water rescue classes, you name it. We were always there. And that's what's great about the places that we work for or worked for in the past. They always push education and training.
Yeah, I think you were a baby EMT at the time. You couldn't have been an EMT that long when you were at that class. I think you had just started working for Ross.
The card, I might have even just been freaking volunteering at the time.
I don't know. I started at McCandless in 2004.
I started Ross, I think, end of 2008.
Okay.
So I can't wait to get some of those guys on. I think we're going to have GP on also.
Do you need me to make a phone call? Because I'll get on him about it.
If you want.
I'll be like, I went on. It's your turn, brother.
He's been emailed. And he's like, got to give me a few days. I'm like, I got you. Yeah. No rush.
Yeah, he'd be a good one. He'd definitely be a good one.
Oh, yeah. We got some big things coming, Norm. I would love to have you come back on and actually possibly sit in on a round table where we can have actually people in person together.
You got my email. You got my phone number, man. I'm on it.
Yeah, man. We're going to extend it out. I don't know what we could do to maybe get out to your station. Maybe you have to talk to your boss. But I'd love to. Our plan is we would love to go and visit different stations, whether EMS, fire, police, and then have a sit down with some of the crews there and, get some insight on to how they're feeling that day or just in general. I think it would be a really good idea.
Make that happen.
We'll talk. We're gonna talk.
Yeah, don't be a stranger.
Hell no, Norm. Anything else you want to say to anyone? You want to shout anyone out or anything, Norm?
No, I think I'll keep it clean right now. There's some people I could shout out to. I'll shout out to the guy we talked about because his podcast was a game changer.
I don't think he's gonna mind. I don't think he's gonna mind. Well, he knows who he is.
So hopefully he listens to mine as closely as I listen to his, because I was patiently waiting for that one to come out.
Heck yeah. And that was a hey, and by the way, I don't know if you collect them, but you know what this is?
Challenge coins.
Do you have any?
Collect them. I got one for you, don't worry.
All right. I gotta show off my Ross one, man. That's the go-to for me. I was super proud of that when that guy presented to me. It has my number on it. That was
nice. I would love to show you mine, but they're in a box because I'm remodeling my basement right now.
Norm, brother, it's been real. We appreciate you so much for being on, man. Anyone else?
Appreciate you having me.
Heck yeah, dude. It was awesome. Seriously, I was like, Norm Prycl? Heck yeah. I haven't talked to Norm for so long. I would love to have him on. But guys, if you'd like to be on like Norm was, hit us up at TWWC Podcast at Proton. We're going to keep this discussion going, guys. I think we have such an awesome platform here for all of these responders to come on, share their stories, give some insight, and we'll leave it with that, guys. Norm, thank you much, brother.
Take care of yourselves.
Heck yeah. Till next time, guys. We'll talk to you later.